1. The Phantom Hitchhiker. It was a stormy night in the small town of Ravenwood when Daniel was driving home from his late shift. The rain was pounding against his windshield, and visibility was almost zero. That's when he saw her, a young woman, drenched and shivering, standing on the side of the road with her thumb out. Daniel pulled over and offered her a ride. She got in silently, eyes fixed forward. "Where are you headed?" he asked. "Home," she whispered, giving him an address just a few miles away. As they drove, Daniel tried to make small talk, but she remained eerily silent. When they reached the address, he turned to tell her they'd arrived, but the seat was empty. Confused and shaken, Daniel knocked on the door of the house. An elderly woman answered. "I brought a young woman here. Is she inside?" he asked. The woman's face went pale. "That was my daughter. She died in a car accident on this very road 10 years ago. You're the third person to bring her home this year." 2. The Crying Child. Amelia was a single mother living in a remote cabin with her 3-year-old son, Liam. One stormy night, she was jolted awake by the sound of a child crying outside. Rushing to the door, she found nothing but the howling wind and rain. But the crying persisted, echoing around the cabin. Amelia checked on Liam. He was fast asleep. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from the backyard. Grabbing a flashlight, she ventured outside. There, in the rain, was a small child drenched and crying. "Are you lost?" Amelia asked, but the child just stared at her, eyes hollow and dark. When she blinked, the child was gone. The next morning, she asked the local sheriff if any children were reported missing. The sheriff's face grew somber. 20 years ago, a little boy drowned in a creek behind her cabin. People still hear his cries during stormy nights. 3. The Watcher in the Window. Nina was alone in her new apartment during a torrential downpour. The rain hammered against the windows, creating an eerie, rhythmic tapping sound. As she closed the blinds, she saw it, a face staring back at her from the window across the alley. Pale, expressionless, and unblinking. It was a man, soaking wet, staring straight at her. Nina quickly shut the blinds and called her neighbor to ask if someone was standing outside. "There's no one there," her neighbor said. "I just checked." But when Nina looked again, the man was closer. Now, he was at her window, pressing his drenched hands against the glass. She screamed and ran to call the police. When they arrived, they found no one outside. But on the fogged-up glass of her window, a handprint remained, smeared and dripping. 4. The Last Bus. Jake was waiting at the bus stop, the rain pouring down relentlessly. It was the last bus of the night, and the station was empty. Finally, the bus arrived. Jake got on, but something felt off. The passengers were all silent, staring straight ahead, their faces pale and lifeless. Jake sat down and tried to ignore the unsettling atmosphere. The bus driver didn't speak or even acknowledge his presence. As the bus passed his usual stop, Jake stood up. "Hey, you missed my stop," he shouted. The driver didn't respond. Jake looked around. The passengers were now all staring at him, their eyes completely black. Panicking, Jake pulled the emergency cord, but the bus kept going. When it finally stopped, he stumbled off and ran home in the rain. The next day, he read a news report about a bus that had crashed into a river 10 years ago, killing everyone on board. The route number was the same as the one he had ridden the night before.